Hi everybody, and welcome to another garden update. It's the second week of June and things are definitely growing in the garden. The cherry tomatoes have started growing, so that's really exciting. And I have done my first harvest of Swiss chard and spinach this week to have with a meal that I made. I am about to make breakfast and I'm out of leafy greens in the fridge. So I'm going to do my first harvest of the season, and I'm going to harvest some Swiss chard and spinach to make myself some breakfast. Because I'm on a balcony that has a lot of pigeons, to make sure that they're cleaned very well, because they get pigeon dust on it, and two, they'll get pigeon shit on it. So it's important to, what I'll do is, so some of them here, you'll see this here, I'll just cut that out and make sure I wash it all very well, and then chop it up and fry it with my breakfast. So I'm just gonna fry myself up some greens with some onions and bell peppers and some rice, and then I'll make 2 over easy eggs to go with it. So I'm going to chop up some Swiss chard, spinach, and some hot and spicy oregano that I got from the garden. So we've got my greens, some chopped up onions, some chopped up orange bell pepper, some bacon grease, and some rice that was in the fridge. I'm gonna fry this all up. This is good. So let's go check out the garden now. We'll see what we can find, and maybe I'll do a little work in there too. So the cat grass is still pretty destroyed, but there is, yes, ZZ, yeah, that's your work. There is some catnip though that has started sprouting, so that's good. If we look here, the lettuce is doing really well. Everything needs to be watered, so I'll be doing that after this video. The beefsteak tomatoes doing well, growing nicely. Same with all of the mints, they're doing well. The sprout I planted is growing nicely. Here, the strawberries. Oh, look at that. I have some strawberries growing. So I definitely need to get these away from the feeder so that the birds do not eat them. Look at that, 3 of them. Bell pepper, or the hot peppers. So this is the hot bomb pepper. I actually have one growing there. It's exciting. The jalapenos. Maybe this is one. I don't know if you can see right there. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Leeks doing well too. Flowers, still waiting to see what it is that pops up. We do have some little tomatoes. So these are the cherry tomatoes. We've got 1 there, and another 3 down there, right there. The cilantro is doing well too, so we have, some birds. We've got some corianders coming up here, so that's good. Some cilantro. We've got the bell peppers doing well, starting to get shaded out a bit by this big King of the North I got at the greenhouse. buds are still coming in, so that's good. Right there. These guys are growing too, making some really good progress this week. The flowers are doing all right. Still no zucchini sprout though. The Manitoba tomato is growing. Hot and spicy oregano is doing well too. Oh, there's a cobweb there. The regular oregano is doing really well. The slicer tomatoes are still flowering. Let's see, I don't really see any tomatoes yet, but they'll come. Lettuce doing well over here too. Same with these bell peppers. Oh, this one has a sprout on it. And that's one of the ones that I germinated myself here at home. And we've got the basil doing well. Dehydrated though, they need some water. And there's a little leaf on the cucumber sprout, so that's good. Up here, the chamomile is doing crazy. Look at that. They're just exploding. Sort of shading out the catnip. You can see here, catnip is starting to grow. Hopefully they'll survive this shading. I might have to trim it back. We'll see. The spinach and Swiss charbol is doing okay. I did have a harvest of that earlier this week. There's quite a bit of yellowing here. I'm going to have to trim these off today so that there's more room for the actual greener foliage to come through. I might actually plant some more spinach too in here. These plants, some of them look like they're starting to flower, so I'm going to put in some more seeds. And the okra is doing well. I can actually see some buds here, so that's good. Bok choy doing really well. Napa cabbage doing really well as well. Look at this, how big that is. It's really great. And flowers, still doing really well. So now I'm just going to water it and do some trimming and just a little bit of upkeep, and we'll see if I can get that in a time lapse. So my tomatoes are now big enough to put in a cage, so I'm going to put the tomato cage around the tomatoes that I have. So just a tip when you're putting your tomato cages on or moving your plants around at all, if at all possible, you want to make sure that you can do this when they're a little bit drier. So if it's recently watered, the plant is going to be very rigid, but if it's a little bit dehydrated, then it's going to be a lot more flexible, so you're less likely to break the stem or the leaves or anything like that. So before I watered it, it does need to be watered, so I put the cage on, and now I'm going to water it and it'll get more rigid. This one could still wait a while before putting the cage on, but since I've put it on the other ones, I might as well just go on and put the tomato cages on all of the tomatoes. So one of my marigolds did finally sprout right there. So that's exciting. So here the basil, I noticed it's going to flower soon right here. So what I'm doing is I'm just chopping off the top here so that it'll grow more leaves instead of flowering. So there. See how the leaves are they're sort of much pointier than these other fragrant leaves. So I'm just chopping that off. And that's just going to encourage it to grow more fragrant leaves instead of flowers. So I've trimmed back the chamomile here just to let the catnip sprouts get more sun so that they can grow. And I've just taken out the yellow bits of spinach and Swiss chard, so that's all cleaned up. Hopefully it'll grow some nice full leaves for some food. The slicer tomato and the Manitoba tomato now have their cages up. So looks a little useless on my Manitoba tomato, but it will get bigger and I just got to make sure that I keep the leaves inside as it grows. Put the cage on the beef steaks as well. These get really monstrous, so again, this looks a little overkill right now because they're so small, but they will get really big, and this will help contain them. Now that the lettuce has been watered, it's getting firm again, so you see the droopy leaves are getting a little bit more solid. And so everything has been watered, and the birds are getting a bit cranky. They really want me to leave so that they can have their dinner. So I am going to go back inside. So I'm back from the balcony garden, and we've got the tomato cages on now. Things are looking great. I am very excited, but I'm still not too happy about the fact that I don't have any kale. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out and purchase some kale, and then I'm going to plant more zucchini and cucumbers in that one pot, and hopefully they will start sprouting. So while I'm out getting the kale, we'll also stop by the community plot and see how that one's doing and give it some waters, since it's actually been quite warm out lately. So here we are at the plot. Let's take a look and see how the beets and carrots are doing. Oh, they are looking good. Definitely need some water though. And there's quite a bit of weeds and other plants growing. But I do have carrots, so that's good. Here's some carrots. There's also some over there. And let's take a look at the tobacco. There we go. So we do have some growing. I think it is time to take off the straw here. Just finished up at the plot, and now I'm gonna go to greenhouse to pick up some kale and see if there's anything else that grabs my fancy, strikes my fancy, fancies me, whatever. The plot does need to be weeded, and that straw needs to be taken off, but clearly I'm not dressed for gardening this time, so I think I will be coming back this weekend to clean all that up. So that will probably be in the next update for next week. So yeah, let's go to the greenhouse yet again for some plants. Mission accomplished with minimal damage. I got some kale and I got some lavender, and I am good to go home now. And this is what it looks like from the outside today. Still not too big, but it's definitely starting to get there. I'm liking the colors that you can see, and you can finally get some greenery. Oh, you can actually see some birds at the feeder too. So yeah, it's coming along nicely.